It's time again for your home for everything CORT. This is the fastest show in sim racing, the CORT Report. This is your one-stop shop for news for the CORT Trading Paints Championship Series. And the CORT National Cup Series. And now, the guys who will bring it all to you. David Amboy.
Bye, Brian.
Chris Sweat.
Come on, baby, here we go.
John Dragonetti.
Bye, have a great time.
And Julian Bedore. Hello, and welcome to the CORT Report. I am your host, David Amboy, and of course, as always, I'm alongside John Dragonetti.
I am here.
Yeah, and John's here, and Greg Netherwood's here as well, and we'll be hearing more from him later on. But Greg, how you doing?
I am doing just peachy. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right. You know, Thursday night CORT Report action as usual. And speaking of action, John, the CORT Trading Paints Championship Series finally got over the hangover that was Indianapolis, and got a new headache with the Milwaukee Mile.
Yeah, and the race for a majority, well, I guess of the top five, they would probably say it was a good race, but there is a few, mainly at the end, who got involved in a huge wreck off of a restart, who would say quite the opposite. But nonetheless, a race that saw mainly two different leaders, Tyler Tucker and Tim Silman. It was a pretty solid race.
Yes, it was. And why don't we go ahead and run down the running order? It's brought to you by CORTRacing.com, your home for everything CORT. Tyler Tucker came home with the victory after being what he admitted on the TSTV broadcast, the number 2 car in the field, behind Tim Silman, as Tucker was able to take advantage of Tim Silman's pitting penalty to take home the win.
Yeah, and he was incredibly excited to get it, despite anything else that happened. But he had a solid race nonetheless, was right on Silman the entire time. Dropped back a little bit during the mid to late part of a run, but was solid nonetheless.
And the man who came home second, again, just complimenting that good run that he had at Indianapolis with the win. Like Husby, there was no Indy 250 hangover. He came home second.
I guess you could actually call him Mr. Trading Paints Consistency, I guess. I don't know, it makes no sense. But
none.
His 5th straight top 5. Every race this season, he's finished top 10. Wow. Brain farts. Thank you, exams.
It's been a long week for you, but more on that later. Tim Silman, and who was fast all day, took home the pole, led the most laps, did not come home with the victory due to a pitting penalty, and he was vocal about it in the post-race.
Yeah, and you can explain it as well as I could. He was incredibly upset. I would think a top 3 is good, but having a car as solid as his, we all can understand. We've all been there, done that. That is not a good feeling.
For those of you who didn't catch it, Tim Silman came in the pit lane, passed the commit cone, which forced him to go to the rear of the field, and unfortunately forced him to restart, I believe 6th or 8th on the restart, but was able to recover to 3rd after making a daring 3-wide pass with about 20 laps to go in the event. A newcomer to CORT, TJ Halsma, came home 4th in his debut race.
Yeah, and it was very solid. Very quiet, though. He was in the top 7 to 8 most of the race and came home with 0 incidents. So, how about that? At Milwaukee, nonetheless.
Yeah, Milwaukee. I remember running back in the Can-Am series. Cheap plug for Greg Netherwood.
Thank you.
You're welcome. CanAmRacingSeries.com. I ran there on a Sunday couple weeks ago in a late model, and it was beating and banging and tough racing, and then we come in here in a trading paints car and we're completely thrown off guard. But good run for Halsma in his debut, and look forward to seeing him hopefully next week at Road America. Scott Olson came home 5th.
Another solid, quiet run for him. And that's exactly what he's looking for, trying to get back up in the points battle. Another guy, 0 incidents.
Yeah, it was a very clean race. Kind of surprised some folks on 1 mile racetrack, flat, but it was a surprisingly clean race. Kyle Young came home 6th.
Yeah, and he fought hard, especially starting off in the 14th position. Very rough for him to try to get up and battle. I think he got involved in a couple minor incidents, but still a great run. A good top 10 finish is exactly what he needed.
Sean Breitzman in the CORTRacing.com entry came home 7th.
And again, solid run. A little bit disappointed though. He started up in the top 5, and he was really looking forward to doing well. But he had something else to look forward to, and we'll explain that later on. But again, not bad.
Yeah, a good run later on in the week at Iowa when he took the win. More on that later. Joseph Cervone in the 78 Red Bull entry came home 8th, and he quietly became a factor there near the end, but unfortunately kind of fell back to being the last car on the lead lap.
Now, let's hope the coffee train isn't kind of derailing, otherwise it might not be good for his points hopes. I know he's sitting in like a 5 or 6 way tie, whatever it seems like, for like 13th. 13th.
Yeah, he needs a shot of espresso and not a shot of decaf. I came home 9th. It was a promising start to the night. Got into the wall about halfway through the event and was just trying to hang on to it and had to put in a ton of wheel. Thank God that race was only 125 laps, because if it were a few laps longer, I swear I would have walled it by the end of it. But yeah, it was a rough night for the Target bunch that night. But getting to the road course at Road America, hoping to improve on that. Last year, back with the Oracle colors, we only got to turn 3, and then we nosed it into the wall. And that ended our day. But we're looking forward to a good run next week, hopefully. Cody McCorkle had to pit late, unfortunately, and he relinquished the 9th spot. He finished 10th.
Yeah, and you hate that. I know at Indy we saw a couple people, myself and Riley, kind of pit and benefited from it, but unfortunately for Cody, it did not work out. Got trapped a lap down, but top 10, that's what he needs. He's still trying to turn the season around.
Moving on to the second page of results here. The shortest field that we've seen in Trading Paints action so far this season, but nonetheless, it was still a very clean race, only 2 cautions. Julian Medor came home 11th after starting 2nd.
Yeah, and from here down, it's kind of a list of a who's who of people who kind of got the bad, it's the short end of the stick.
Yeah, short end of the stick, unfortunately.
Got involved in incidents. Him included. Just unfortunate, but better it's happening here than over in the Cup Series where he's point leader. So, kind of good, kind of bad.
Came off not being able to run the Indy 250 due to moving. But Julian, hopefully, will get the train back on track at Road America. And, of course, as always, he's still got the points lead in the CORT National Cup Series. For those wondering where Julian is this week, he's got some sort of commitment deal thing. I guess he's marketing some watermelon-flavored peanut butter. So, he's busy marketing.
How does that even work? I just gotta throw it out there. Watermelon peanut butter? What?
I don't know, but one night, late on TeamSpeak, he just randomly said, you know what would be good? Watermelon and peanut butter. And he randomly threw them together and said that it was delicious. So, yeah. I was as perplexed as you are, Greg.
Was he also stoned at the time?
Cannot confirm nor deny.
Just checking, because it's either stoned or pregnant, and I know he's a dude, so...
Oh my god.
Andrew Hayes finished last in the points. He came home 12th.
And him and the next 2 people we're gonna talk about in a second here, got involved in the restart incident, which I guess was the big one. I don't know. But unfortunate, now he wants to turn the season around after one or two. That's the same thing. Crap, I can't talk today. Someone talk for me. Someone talk for me.
Hayes had a good run going. Unfortunately, he was involved in the restart incident that surprisingly didn't bring out a caution. Unfortunately, he came out in 12th. Chris Sweat was a victim of the same thing. He finished 13th. Will Roberts. The points there, man. You talk about a driver who's fallen from grace lately. Will Roberts. 3 straight finishes out of the points.
Yeah, that's definitely not what he needed. I know he was incredibly excited after doing incredibly well the first 2 races, but I hope he can turn it around because he needs a good finish right now to salvage anything left of this season.
Yeah, Will is now 4th in the points, 27 back. Carson Abe came home 15th, but Jay Shivens, and I hate to single people out, but Jay Shivens, it just seems as if he struggled with the car, and I know the CORT All-American, or the CORT American Racing Tour, I should say, is starting up in a few weeks, but he definitely has that series written all over him.
Yeah, and we definitely recommend not just him, but anyone else who wants to get involved who's new and not experienced with the higher powered cars to definitely let David or myself or Chris or Hayes or Julian or anybody know, and we can help you out because the as we said before, the CORT American Racing Tour in the Star Mazda, presented by Wessex.net. It's definitely for you because the car is incredibly fun, really easy to handle, and the racing is absolutely phenomenal. It's 2-3 wide all the time, and it's just so fun. But it's definitely a good stepping stone, so if you need help, you're not comfortable, let us know. We'll set you up in this series. It's a great series. Will Roberts is doing a good job so far. It's fun, and believe me, it'll help you incredibly.
Yeah, and for those wondering if there's even going to be a field to that series, we had a test race a few weeks ago, I think. Yeah, a few weeks ago, and there were 15 people in an unannounced test race. Sure, it was open, but there is, I don't want to say a demand, but there is a market for it. So, for anyone going, well, I don't want to run the American Racing Tour because there's not enough people driving the Star Mazdas in the iRacings. Well, we've got 24 entries signed up, so think about it. But unfortunately, we bring up Jace because the guy who finished dead last, Brian Sullivan, had a rough go of it and was actually involved in an incident with Jace, and that put an end to his night.
Yeah, and that's incredibly unfortunate for him. He had such high hopes with this race. He's sitting, oh crap, where was he in the points? I don't remember. 15th. He's in that huge tie for 13th. And he is really looking forward to this track, trying to get out and hoist himself up because he's only 53 points out of the lead. So it's still tight, but not the run he was looking for at all.
Yep. And speaking of the points, when we go ahead, move on over to point standings, as Tyler Tucker's win took a pretty big chunk out of Timothy Silliman's points lead. He is now just 7 back of Silliman. Husby is 3rd with 12 back. Will Roberts, another finish out of the points, and it shows. He is now 4th, 27 back. Scott Olson, to put in perspective, and the exciting thing about CORT is the fact that if you miss a race, you're not totally screwed. Scott Olson has missed 2 races this season, and he finds himself 5th in points.
Yeah, and like you said, it shows you consistency counts in these cars. So if you're not sure what to do in terms of, I gotta finish outside the point, don't even worry about that. Just run your car, be consistent, and look, it pays, clearly.
Yep, I mean, Scott Olson missed 2 races, and he's in 5th in points. So That's why I'm a huge fan of this point system in the CORT Training Paints Championship Series, because it might be cutthroat at the lower positions, but it's not as cutthroat, if that makes any sense. It kind of ebbs and flows a little bit, so it kind of helps out both ways. So it's a good thing for them. The CORT Training Paints Championship Series heads to the 4 Mile road course in Wisconsin. As they stay in the state of Wisconsin, they go to Road America this week for the Texaco Haviland Grand Prix of Elkhart Lake. John, this is a place.
It is a place, and it's on Earth.
And it's on Earth, and it's big. It's the biggest track in CORT, 4 miles.
And it has trees.
Mm-hmm.
God, I can't even talk. It's so weird.
All right, well, why don't we go ahead and do a little bit of a trivia thing. You know how there is, you'll hear drivers talk about it a lot this week, Canada Corner, turn 11.
Please, no trivia.
Yes, no, it's a trivia. It's a trivia moment.
Oh my God, it's like a trivia.
What? Wow, it's trivia. But the car, you'll be coming out of the carousel. It's a 180-degree corner. It's wide. It's a thicker hairpin, if that makes any sense. Cut through that 180-degree corner, and then you head through the kink, which is a near flat-out corner, and then you'll head down a long back straightaway to what they call Canada Corner. Now, John, do you know why it's called Canada Corner?
Because it faces Canada?
See, that's what I thought too, but believe it or not, it's called Canada Corner because back when this racetrack opened in 1955, the track owner used to hire the local Boy Scouts to clean up the stands underneath the stands in that part of the racetrack, and all they found were Canadian cigarette packages and Canadian beer bottles. So, dubbed the name Canada Corner, and we wear it with pride.
So let me get this straight.
Yes.
Old men, Boy Scouts, Canadian cigarettes.
Come on. You're jumping to conclusions here. You're jumping
that's awesome.
No, you're jumping to conclusions. No, you're jumping to conclusions. My goodness gracious.
Do they have a Tim Hortons underneath the grandstand now there?
I don't know.
Maybe sell maple syrup?
I can go for a honey cruller right now. I had one earlier today. It was delicious.
Canadians.
Oh, come on, Greg. You're practically in Canada.
I'm 2 hours away. Don't put that evil on me.
You have Tim Hortons where you live.
Actually, I don't, surprisingly.
What?
No, all we got is Dunkin'. I'm kind of upset because I used to work right next to a Timmy's and I loved it.
You're in the one spot in Western New York that doesn't have friggin'...
We have one stoplight, and that's a miracle we even have that.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Oh, my goodness gracious. All right, well...
I know. Anyway.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we take a break? We'll come back. We'll cover the Iowa Farm Bureau 300 for the CORT National Cup Series, and then we'll shoot the breeze with Greg Netherwood. What do you say, John?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Okay.
All right. John Dragonite bringing the charisma this week. Absolutely. So there's two.
That's two. Yep.
So we will go ahead and take a break. We'll come back. CORTRacing.com. This is the CORT Report.
Reese's. Caramel. You got your caramel on my Reese's.
Three great tastes that taste great together. With caramel, Reese's peanut butter cup.
Can I get a light beer?
Sure. Do you care how it tastes?
No, I don't really care.
Okay. Well, when you start caring, just take off your skirt and I'll give you a Miller Lite.
Man up, because if you're drinking a light beer without great Pilsner taste, you're missing the point of drinking beer. Grab a triple hops brewed Miller Lite. Taste greatness.
Check it out, I lost the skirt and got a Miller Lite.
Your fly's open.
HP printers and inks give you 65% more pages than bargain inks. Now that's an impressive bargain.
Welcome back to the CORT Report, CORTRacing.com, and we are just about ready to get going with our recap for the CORT National Cup Series, coming off a week off, and they were at the Iowa Speedway for the Iowa Farm Bureau 300. And John, man, and this might sound bizarre because it wasn't really an exciting finish. It ended under caution, but it might have been the most entertaining race in CORT history.
It actually was incredibly fun. We had an insane amount of people start. I think this is probably our largest field. 26 cars actually started. 26 started.
Yeah, 26 started at a short track. It's our biggest non-Daytona field in history. So, good size field. And Sean Brightsman, the CORTRacing.com car won.
Can-Am partner with us.
Can-Am partner.
Oh, yeah. My teammate, booyah.
Yeah, Greg Netherwood with us here in studio. And Greg, hey, Flying Wee, first win in CORT history.
Yeah, we should have had one at Vegas. That fell by the wayside. Potentially the week before last as well. But hey, we'll take Iowa.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you and your guys, well, Brightsman and Jesus, old Jesus, were battling the whole time. That was pretty insane.
Yeah, I've ran with Brightsman for about 10 years, and he's always been, top three wherever he goes, whether it be a short track or super speedway. So pretty much any track we go to, he's going to be right there at the end, and it's good to see that he finally got one.
Yeah, well, we go ahead and run down the running order. It's brought to you by CORTRacing.com, again, because we need some title sponsorship for these ticker rundowns. Sean Brightsman with the win. Julian Medora came home second, and that's a perfect finish for him to maintain his points lead.
Yeah, and he definitely for sure had a top three car despite slipping up in the qualifying session and kind of being mired back in traffic for the roughly 3/4 of the race up until the last maybe 50 or so laps. But definitely what he needs to keep that consistency and keep growing that point lead.
Yeah, a good run for Julian, and he kept the point lead going into New Hampshire next week. And hey, John, right there behind him. And by the way, quickly, I don't mean to move on real quick, but Julian Medora started 19th and finished second. So a good run on the tight bull ring at Iowa.
I will throw it out there that at one point he got up to me. I started 12th and got pushed back on a bad start, and he got by me. And I literally just stuck to his bumper, and we picked right through traffic, right back up into the top 5. It was pretty awesome.
Hey, worked out. John Dragonetti came home third. John, how was your race?
Solid. We led a good chunk of laps. We had a great car on new tires. I think maybe we were set up a little bit poorly for the long run, but we were good, short middle. But, I'm not terribly disappointed with that. 3 legitimate starts, 3 top 5s. I mean, we're just going for wins now, but still, I think that shows that we're still pretty solid.
Yeah, good run for John. Cody McCorkle, proving the critics wrong again, came home 4th.
Yeah, definitely a solid run. That's what he needed. I know he was kind of struggling earlier, but after the last set of cautions, it set him up perfectly for the final 4-lap run we had, and he definitely made it count.
Man who was involved in a lot of controversy after the fact, and the man who started on the pole, Corey Stevens, who got into a little bit of a run-in with Steve Lovender after the event. Stevens was penalized 6 points for the incident, but still came home and retained his 5th place finish.
That's still another good run. That's exactly what he needed, especially trying to make a run for the championship in his first full-time season. So definitely not something to be ashamed of.
Yep, that's for sure. Dakota Ehrman came home 6th. He had a good run going for the majority of the night and was able to bring it home in the top 10.
He was kind of upset. He says woo in the chat, but no. he was really upset. He really had something. He thought he had something. But unfortunately, the car wasn't to his liking, and he says, quote, "I wanted to put that car in the wall, exclamation point. I hate it. I didn't."
Well, you know, for a guy that finished 6th and seems to be running really well in these cars, he doesn't seem to like them very much.
Yeah,
I'm right there with him, though.
He hates this Gen 6 platform for some reason, but he's already got a win, and he's contending for the title in it. That is bizarre. Speaking of bizarre, David Amboy's finished in the top 10 of one of these things for once.
That's not bizarre.
No, that is bizarre.
That's not.
Yes, it is. We have so much talent here. I shouldn't be finishing in the top 10.
You do.
If you keep all 4 fenders on it, you're bound to get a good finish eventually.
Yeah, and that's exactly what the Target crew did, and we were able to bring it home one piece. Brought home 7th after that whole brouhaha in 3 on the final run there. And we were able to bring it home in 7th, and moving on to New Hampshire next week, we finished higher than where we started, so that's always an improvement. Tim Silliman, right behind me. He came home 8th.
Yeah, and you again know as well as really any of us, he was fighting incredibly hard to keep his car on track, and it was incredibly loose for everybody, but him especially seemed to just, like Earman said in the chat, he just wanted to throw into a wall.
Yeah, he was struggling with a damaged car, and every time that it looked like it was finally going to be repaired, he got some more damage. But he was able to bring it home in a top 10. Hey, we've seen with this car before. Just look at Brad Keselowski at Kansas. By the way, did anyone see that new picture of Kansas floating around for iRacing?
Pretty cool.
That looks like
it looks alright.
It looks like a future court venue, if you ask me.
It's a cookie cutter.
It's a cookie.
Bring me ORP and we can talk.
Bring me ORP. Bring me
O'Reilly Raceway Park, man. I've been waiting on that for so long.
Yeah, more shorties is what Greg Netherwood
said.
Yeah. Benefits his series, so.
Exactly.
But we've seen with Brad Keselowski at Kansas, these cars can be torn up and can still run well. Just look at numerous examples so far this season, and you'll see that. Sean Brandt, Mr. RPM. RPM finished number 9.
Yeah, and that's, again, we have a lot of celebrity, sim racing celebrity here, and that's a great run for him. Great run for 9th. That's amazing, and I think this actually was his first start, was it not?
No, this was his second. He started at Indianapolis. But 25th to 9th. Another one of those drivers who just kept plugging away, was able to come home with a good finish. Running out top 10, Brian Sullivan came home 10th.
Yeah, another good run for him. This is only his, I think it is 3rd start this season.
Yes.
And to get another top 10, bringing it up to 2, with his average finish of, I think, 12th? 12th? Yeah, 12th. That's not bad. And he's sitting midway through the point standings. He's not out of it by any means, but that's definitely not bad for his first full season.
Yeah, and can only realistically go up from here. I mean, Sullivan's shown flashes of speed. I just point at Las Vegas as a good example. He was pretty quick there. Steve Lovender, the other half of the 2 and the 56 going at it, came home 11th. Kind of a interesting incident there. Lap 105 of the event, Lovender seemed to have gotten into Corey Stevens. Looked like it was a racing deal. And then after the event, Corey Stevens decided to pay Mr. Lovender a visit. And the intimate dater was hopefully not intimidated.
Interesting play on puns.
I was going to say, your puns are bad and you should feel bad.
Feel bad.
Okay.
I think I may have tried a little too hard on that one.
Well, I tried.
You try hard, you.
Yeah, but Lovender came home 11th.
A good run nonetheless. Not his brightest point. I know after the win in Vegas, we expect a lot from him, but everybody's human. We've all proven it. Steve's had his little I guess, hiccup here, but I would expect to see him back up in the top 5 definitely next week.
I've ran with Steve for 6+ years, and he's always been very, very good at the mile and a halves and bigger. And it's good to see him finally starting to improve on the shorter tracks, because that's always been his weak point, and him finishing 11th is a pretty good stepping stone.
Kevin Bartelt came home in the number 12 spot. He had a little bit of a run-in, but was able to keep it going.
Yeah, and, it's one of those racing deals that was kind of wrong place, wrong time, I guess you could say. But it's just one of those things, racing hard, things happen, and unfortunately him and Julian kind of made a little bit of contact.
Yeah, for those wondering, and if you got the replay at home, lap 89, Julian Mador and Kevin Bartelt kind of got into a little bit of a tete-a-tete, as we say in French. Ran into one another, and unfortunately, Julian hit a bump. And surprisingly, for a track built in 2006, it's a bumpy track.
Yeah, the entrance into 1 and the entrance into 3 is actually a lot rougher than you would think. Not as bad as Kentucky, but it's actually kind of comparable.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of a bump going into 1, and Julian hit one of the bumps, and you know where that leads you. So unfortunately, Julian got into Bartelt. They kind of talked about it after the race. Didn't really get into it too much, but that's where we're at right now. Don't really have an update on that. Hopefully everything's squashed by the time New Hampshire next week. Mike Husby, what happened? 13th.
Party too hard.
Party too hard, I imagine. Just seemed to never have it going last night at the Iowa Speedway, and it shows.
But still, congrats.
Yeah, congrats.
I will never understand that, but congrats Husby anyway.
Yeah, hey, you know what? We just like to congratulate him, because congrats, Mike.
You deserve it, buddy.
Yeah, you deserve it, Mikey. Congrats,
Everybody should run and post congrats Mikey on his Facebook right now. Go ahead.
That's a great idea. That's
how it started.
Idea. That's a great idea. Everyone go wish Husby congrats. He deserves it. So everyone in the chat, watching live, everyone listening to this on the archive, that is on YouTube for anyone to listen to, feel free to wish Husby congrats. Sean Bird came home 14th.
Is that all we got to say about that one?
Sorry, I was
came home 14th.
I was wishing
everybody was too busy posting on Husby's Facebook.
I guess. Sean Bird kind of struggled a little bit, spun it a couple times, but was able to come home with a top 15 finish, which in this series, and with however many cars we had running at the end, we had, I want to say, 17 cars running at the end of that one, so pretty impressive for a short track, 175 laps, and to have 17 cars still running.
It's even more impressive to finish with the race high 20 incidences on the lead lap, no less.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a slugfest. That's for damn sure. Nathan Bowers, a driver from the Can-Am Series, crossing over to CORT. He came home 15th.
Yeah, I converted him. He's been a steady driver, I'll call him, for the last couple of years as I've known him. And he's never going to win any races, really. But he's very clean. He's very smooth. He'll bring home a nice finish every now and then.
Well, for a first time around some of our drivers, a 15th is, I don't want to say something to write home about, but something to put in the notables, I would say.
He was actually running 8th until that last caution, on the last wreck. Yeah, so he almost had a top 10 out of it.
Yeah, he had a really good run in his first run, and unfortunately the finish doesn't show it. A lot of these drivers, and in fact the next driver on the list here, Jesus Andrade, and been a little bit of the controversy this week as well. I know Dakota Ehrman was very vocal over Jesus Andrade's late race move.
Yeah, and we had him on our radio frequency a little bit earlier in the race, and we heard he was incredibly upset that I guess the way him and Dakota were racing each other, kind of harder than they should have been. But it really stinks for him, not to kind of sound like favorites or anything, but he probably should have won it. He was incredibly solid throughout the run. He was just running away.
Led the
absolutely
most laps.
Running away. Oh, yeah. And, just victim of circumstances due to that last restart there. It was a little bit further back than he wanted to be and pushed it too hard and ended up wrecking himself. But, yeah, it's just... that just sucks.
Yep. Well, that's unfortunately, I believe, his second start of the season, and unfortunately it didn't go very well. He didn't have a good start at Daytona either, so if he wants to make a late push for the top 10, he's going to have to hustle if he does indeed run next week at New Hampshire. Kyle Young, a man who was very irate about it, came home 17th.
Yeah, but still had a good finish, I guess, comparatively speaking, out of a field of 26 people. Not exactly what he's looking for, though. Like he said, he's trying to get into the championship hunt, and unfortunately this knocked him out of the top 10 down to 12th. We'll talk about that later. But, he's been consistent up to this point, and there's not a doubt in my mind he won't be able to get it back and get back into his old form.
Yeah, he's going to rebound from it. I know he was saying the last thing he wants to do is go and run more oval stuff, but Kyle has always shown flashes of fast, and hopefully it continues in the next few weeks. I got to give an honest apology to this next driver. Johnny Williams kept it straight, kept it going. Of course, he finished a few laps down, more specifically 22, but I don't believe it was even his doing, and Johnny was able to bring it home 18th.
Yeah, he got involved in someone else's mess. I'm not sure when. I don't recall off the top of my head. But he kept it straight the entire night. He was solid the entire night, and he just had a good run compared to how it's happened before, having trouble and spinning or getting involved in someone else's junk. This is a significant improvement, so, this is definitely something big.
Yeah, you don't often say an 18th place is a nice stepping stone, but I think for him it is.
Yeah, and hopefully he keeps it going at New Hampshire, maybe a top 15, baby steps. Gotta kind of work your way up there, and hopefully Johnny, I know he struggled with the transition over to iRacing, so hopefully it keeps going this way. James Gutta came home 19th. I believe he had a fallout issue and kind of was mired back in the pack, and unfortunately that doesn't show how his finish went.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for him because coming into the race, I think he was either 5th or 4th in points, and it dropped him back to 6th, so just a victim of circumstances due to the ISP.
Yeah, the damn ISPs. Get on board with us. We'll plug you.
Upgrade to Fios and give us free Fios, for God's sake.
Yeah, why don't you start hooking up everyone Verizon?
How about Google Fiber?
Google Fiber would be awesome.
Google Fiber sounds like the absolute bee's knees. I swear.
Or a really good cereal.
Google Fiber. It's got all my fiber optic needs.
It keeps you regular.
It's just a bowl of cereal with milk in it and fiber optic cables hanging out.
Sounds lovely.
Sounds electric. It's electric.
Someone make that happen. Make that bowl.
That.
I'll probably end up doing it right now.
Yeah.
For all Google has, I'm surprised they don't have a cereal.
Yeah. You want to know what their cereal would be called?
Googleos.
Matt Harrington came home 20th.
It's just Cheerios that they'll claim they had first, like Bing.
It'll be yeah, Bing. Who bings anything? I'm gonna Bing. Hey, can you Bing something for me real quick? No, nobody does that. Anyways, Matt Harrington came home 20th.
not something he wanted after a strong showing in practice. Had a little bit of a slip up in qualifying, and that kind of set him back, and unfortunately just never able to rebound the way he wanted to, and got involved in some junk, I guess you could say, and just kind of went downhill from there, finishing 127 laps off the pace.
Yeah, and the rest of these names, including Greg Netherwood, who we'll touch on just a few minutes, all had tough luck. We got Chris Sweat involved in an incident. Tough break for Chris. Scott Olson, who was making his debut for David Ambler's developments, and I believe he collected you, Greg.
Yeah.
And Greg Netherwood, who I just mentioned, had a rough go of it last night.
Yeah, that's 3 out of 4 weeks. It's been rough. I've ran top 5 everywhere, and yeah. I'm sitting here 10th in points with 1 top 10 to show for it, but that's racing.
Hey, one of these weeks is finally just all going to come together. It's going to happen.
Just got to make sure there's nobody else on the track. Because I don't seem to be the issue. It seems to be everybody hitting me.
Morgan Murphy making a rare appearance. Came home 24th.
24th place.
24th place. Are we going to say place like please now?
Probably.
Oh, no. Oh, no. A guy who started 7th place and unfortunately came on 25th place was Patrick O'Toole place.
Yes, plus. And he plus had some engine plus failure plus, unfortunately plus.
That was honestly bizarre.
Yeah.
That was just a case where if I'm running for O'Toole Motorsports, these engine issues have been happening entirely way too often that it starts to become of some red flags got to be coming up at the O'Toole Motorsports Group.
Yeah, I don't know if they need to change engine providers or what, but whatever's going on is not working out.
And it sucks for Patrick. He had a 7th place start. And Patrick usually is a short track fiend. He runs well at these short tracks. Just look at Richmond last season when he ran really far up in the front for most of the event. So for him to come home 25th is kind of surprising.
Yeah, I think actually the same kind of thing happened in Richmond last year when he qualified like 3rd or 4th and had engine trouble.
Just kind of puzzling, quite frankly. Quite frankly, it's quite puzzling.
Definitely need to make a change.
Yeah, gonna have to make a change. And rounding out the field, Coffee Train Joseph Cervone blew an engine. Only 6 laps into the event. In 703 Racing, we're kind of behind the 8 ball, but Jesus Andrade, Jesus Cervone, and Joseph Andrade. Let's combine both of them. Andrade had a good run going for that team. Just had his issue, and just a tough break for 703. But that was the running order for the CORT National Cup Series Iowa Farm Bureau 300. Why don't we go ahead and run down the points real quick? Julian Medor, he's now only 14 ahead of Sean Breitzman. Cody McCorkle moves into 3rd. Mike Husby 4th, 26 back. Corey Stevens, despite the points penalty, will stay in 5th. James Gutta is 6th. Dakota Ehrman, Joseph Cervone, a tie for 7th. John Dragonetti is 9th. Greg Netherwood is 10th. I am 11th as a notable. I'm sorry, I gotta make myself notable now. The CORT National Cup Series will find themselves at the flat 1 mile oval of the New Hampshire Motor Speedway next week for the TD Bank 200K, 125 laps around the 1 mile oval. And John, what's there going to be to watch out for at the Magic Mile?
Similar to what we've been seeing in the Trading Paint Series at Phoenix, pit road entry is going to be incredibly critical. Trying to woe down from 120 miles an hour plus, 130, from the banking and just sharply driving it down to a slow pit road, it's going to be hard. And transitioning from that mild banking down to the flat apron, it's going to be tricky. And someone is going to mess it up, because if it's happened before, it'll happen again. And we saw it in Trading Paints last season. We'll probably see it again the Cup Series this season. So it's going to be tricky practice, because you got to watch out for it. It's going to bite somebody.
It certainly will, and the CORT National Cup Series making the first visit to the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Of course, it was originally supposed to be on the schedule last season, but due to the hurry-up of the first season wrapping up, due to a request to hurry it up so that we can launch the CORT National Cup Series, we abandoned our trip to New Hampshire, and that's the ends of the means and the ends of it. So why don't yep, that was New Hampshire.
Yep.
That's New Hampshire. That is New Hampshire. We'll be there next week. CORT Trading Paint Series will be at Road America. And fun fact about the CORT National Cup Series, this is the final race before an off week, and then during that off week we won't be here. There will still be a CORT report, but we won't be here. But there will be a CORT report, if that makes any sense.
Who's gonna do it? The Mystery Science Theater 3000 guys, or what?
Well, we have dug into the CORT archives, and with it being CORT Retro Week the following week, we figured what we would do is we have officially found an old tape of a CORT report from 1977 that we will be airing that week instead of the CORT report that you would normally expect. So we will
just ignoring the fact that most of us weren't even born yet, right?
No, and not only that,
No.
racing wasn't a thing in 1977. But yes, we will.
Sure,
be
it was.
We will be
on,
having
on the Commodore, right?
Yes. Yes.
I'm making it up as I go. I'll just shut up now.
But the CORT report, old retro episode in a couple weeks. Hopefully you guys take a listen to that. We got a cool intro, spicy kind of look to it, feel to it. So should be reminiscent of the 70s and the 80s for those of you who have watched those videos on YouTube. All right, why don't we get out of here? Because we've had quite a long CORT report, and I can tell even just now from not even editing it down yet that it's run quite a bit long. So, John Dragonetti, your final thoughts.
Exams are over. Let's party.
Woo, party!
Oh, you kids.
I had a rough semester. Let's just go.
I haven't exams in 10 years, man. I don't envy you.
That's my first year out in the wild, quote unquote, and still unemployed.
Oh, God. Now I feel old. Thanks, guys.
1991, out in the wild. So, yep. So, by the way, if anyone wants to hire an unemployed broadcasting guy, davidamboys@gmail.com. Greg Netherwood, your final thoughts.
Just thanks for having me. I know I didn't really contribute much, but I hope next time if I come back around, I'll be able to throw my 2 cents in a little bit more.
Hey, quickly, what's the way to get hold of the Can-Am racing series? I know you guys got a Sunday series, which kind of conflicts with the American Racing Tour, but we're cool with that. And you have a series on Tuesdays, which is what I'm looking forward to running. Kicking off this week or next weekend.
This week we are at Chicagoland coming up on Tuesday on Tuesday night Trading Paints Pro Cup Series sponsored by our awesome Steve Lubender. On Sundays, which is our late model tour. Actually, next week's going to be a long New Hampshire week for me. We run New Hampshire on Sunday. We run New Hampshire here on Wednesday. And then the following week, we have a rather large all-star race where it's actually a challenge series between our league and another league that's being broadcast on ETV. And that is also at New Hampshire. So it's going to be a long week in New Hampshire for me.
I believe that's Sarah. I believe it's the Sim Racing...
Yeah. I honestly don't know the abbreviation. I just know it's Sarah. I'm assuming
Sim. Good as Can-Am.
I'm assuming Sim Auto something or other. But
what's the matter?
Can-Am's gonna kick butt, so
not
it doesn't
even
matter.
in your league.
Not even close.
Literally, they're not even in your league. No, but go ahead and check them out. What's the website? CanAmRacingSeries.com?
That is correct. www.canamracingseries.com. Anybody and anyone is welcome to join.
A really cool Trading Paints Pro Cup Series. It's run with the old B car, or the National Series Impala, as iRacing wants us to call it. And check them out. Honestly, it's really cool. We ran the test race at Watkins Glen. It didn't go as well as we hoped for me and John, but
yeah, because some dummy me forgot to turn on resets.
Well, it was a non-points event, but go ahead and check them out. They got some cool stuff happening there. But also quickly, don't mean to take business from your Sunday series, but CORT American Racing Tour, the Star Mazda series on Sunday, starting up in a month from today, actually. June 9th. So go ahead and get your signups in. Post your cars. Why don't we get some buzz on this? Post your cars, post your car files, whatever. Take some pictures. Describe your dog. I don't know. Just do something related to it. So
if I was around Can-Am on Sundays, I'd be all about it. That series sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, you hear that? Yeah. So
do it.
Do it. Do it. All right, so we're going to get out of here. That has been John Dragonetti. That has been Greg Netherwood. Once again, Greg, thanks for coming on for the CORT Report this week. We appreciate it.
Pleasure to be here.
All right, and I am David Amboys. Want to appreciate Will Roberts, Dakota Ehrman, and I believe Corey Stevens were listening live tonight. Appreciate it, you guys, and we'll be back next week, 8 o'clock Eastern, as always, Thursdays, live on CORT Vision's stream. Again, I gotta get a Twitch for just CORT stuff, but whatever. Why don't we get out of here, because we're dragging. So we'll catch you guys next week. This has been your CORT Report for May 10th. It's going up on the 10th. May 10th. May 10th. No, it's going up on the 10th because of the time.
Whatever.
It's sometime in May. So long, everybody.
Bye. Have a great time.